Hello, everybody, and welcome to our SmileFy webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about a new feature that we have available on SmileFy. It's called a cross-section. What does that mean? It means that now you are able to understand how the design looks like from a sagittal view, which gives you a better perspective on how your design is looking compared to the patient's bone file, compared to the patient's biological width. So we're going to be talking a lot about this specific topic, 3D gum contouring guide, and how you can use these features to create your own guides using SmileFy. I'm Dr. Diogo Alves. I'm the Director of Clinical Education for SmileFy, and I'm calling here from my office here in Brazil. And to me, it's such a pleasure to have you guys in this Saturday to learn more about all these digital workflows, these new capabilities that we can do using the SmileFy software. Today, we have also Dr. Samia and Dr. George. They are in the chat. So if you have any questions, please send us a message on the chat and we'll be able to answer every questions that you guys may have. Okay, so just before I get started, I want to know from you guys, what is your specialty? So I just placed a poll. I would like you guys to just answer very quick. It's better for me to understand where you're coming from, what is your experience. This way I can guide these workshop, these webinar according to what you already know. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll here, and here I see that we have 43% of you guys are general dentists, then 21% of you guys are prosthodontists, 14% of you guys are orthodontists. We have also a couple of lab technicians, but I see that we have no periodontists. That's fun because I'm going to show you how you can use the software and the 3D design to guide you, on your perio procedures. So since I haven't gotten any result from the periodontists, I want to know, do you guys perform gingivectomy procedures in your practice? Please let me know. Okay. All right. I'm getting very interesting answers. All right. So now it seems like about 60% of you guys, okay, let me wait a little second. Okay, let me stop here. And it seems like 58% of you guys do perform gingivectomy, so that's great. I'll show you the technique on SmileFy and how you can make it even better. I see that 8% of you guys do not perform gingivectomies, but you have a periodontist or somebody who performs it for you. That's great. At the end of this webinar, we will also send you the recording. That way, if you are a SmileFy member, if you want to become a SmileFy member, you can show this doctor as well. And 33% of you guys don't perform gingivectomies just yet. I will tell you that with the workflow that we do here on SmileFy, it will be just like simpler for you to treatment plan. Let's say you're not the person who is performing in gingivectomy, but you can definitely be the Smile designer and the treatment planner for that gingivectomy using the SmileFy software. Okay, and then just like a very last question, I want to know if you are already a SmileFy member or if you're here to get to know us better. All right, well, that's pretty awesome. It's basically like half and half. We have a lot of SmileFy members here and a lot of, it's like in the 60% of you guys are not SmileFy members, 40% of you guys are SmileFy members, which is great. We have here a little over 100 registrations. So I think it's going to be very interesting for you guys to learn more about what we're going to be talking about today. So let me share. Okay. So for those who are not SmileFy members yet, SmileFy is a digital platform that allows you to better communicate with your patient, better communicate with your dental technician, and the best thing is that you can be your own smile designer, save time, save money, be more in control of your own procedures, and design from literally anywhere. Sometimes when I go and do my courses in the United States, I am in the plane, literally in the plane doing my designs. So my colleagues can perform the procedures. So I have to tell you, it is fun to become a smile designer. On SmileFy, you are able to create AI smile simulations, 3D designs and the 3D plans. You can export all of the mockups that you create from SmileFy straight to your printer, or send all this information to your lab to better collaborate with them. And then, of course, with SmileFy, you can create multiple types of treatment plans. One of them is what we call the motivational design, which is kind of like a pre-plan. You show the patient in a 3D format how the treatment plan could look like even before starting the procedures. You can also create your own composite veneer guides for straight from SmileFy as well, which is also very intuitive. It's always facially guided. And as I said it before, it's cost effective for you and your practice. You can also export straight from SmileFy injectable composite veneer model guides, which allows you to perform injectable composite veneer restorations. You can do, especially now with the feature that I'll show you today, you can do this prototype for porcelain veneers. And you will see that with the cross section, you will be able to measure the width of that design that you are creating. So it's a great tool for you to 3D plan everything on SmileFy, to do a smile trial in the patient's mouth, to make sure that everything is at the way the patient wants, everything is the way that you want, to then proceed with the final restorations. And you can also visualize your CBCT file. You can create also lower 3D design. You can share all these files with any other SmileFy member, with any other lab designer as well, straight from your SmileFy software. Today, we're going to be talking about gum contouring guides, how you can create your own perio analysis into SmileFy to get more predictable outcome on your restorations and on your procedures. So on the 3D gum contouring guide itself, we do have some different ways of performing it. You can perform your gum contouring procedure with your scalpels, which is more like in an analog way. You can use your electrosurgery. You can do laser. But no matter how you perform, the new feature on SmileFy called cross-section allows you to design with more precision, and it lets you visualize and measure the height and width of your design from a sagittal view. The benefits of having this new feature is that you can respect the biological width while designing your gingivalectomy guide. Let me just change here my there we go. So just before we dive into the software itself, it is always important to understand, get an understanding of the periodontal and restorative relationship between performing restorations and performing gingivalectomy cases. The dimension of the space that the healthy gingival tissue occupies above the alveolar crest is called the biological width. And when you respect the biological width, you also respect the overall health of those gingival margins. Just imagine if you are, let's say, planning a gingivectomy and then going for veneers or any type of composite restorations, respecting that biological width will save you, will prevent you from having any other gum recession or inflammation towards that area, which will give you a much better, long-lasting, conservative final outcome to your patient. The biological width is important for the preservation of the periodontal health, which eventually decides the success of the restorative procedures. So today, we are going to be focusing straight on that. I know that 3D design, it's a huge topic, and you guys can always go in our tutorials on YouTube, but I want to focus straight on our new feature today. The new feature, with the new feature, I was able to create this procedure, and it's the procedure that I will go over with you guys. This patient, her name is Maria. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already done a SMI simulation on her, as her picture is already in the trial segment of SmileFy. In this picture, as you guys can see here on the before, it's already after the ortho procedure, and from here we were going to go for our gingivectomy. The way of creating your own gum contouring guide, it's pretty simple. You will need your patient's frontal facial picture, your patient's existing intraoral scan, and also a CBCT bone file. And I can show you later how you can convert your DICOM file, your CBCT DICOM file, into an STL file later. Then you will bring all the files together and create the digital patient. By having this digital patient, you initiate your 3D planning. The 3D planning allows you to select different teeth shapes, select the size, the position of that teeth, and everything that you create is facially guided, meaning that as you select different teeth shapes, you automatically have your patient's picture, so you can simulate that final outcome prior to performing the procedure itself. Once you have all that, you then get on the measurements to make sure that you are respecting the biological width, to see if you need to do any osteotomy or not, if you can do a flapless technique or not, to then 3D print the model and then initiate the procedure. Here, as you guys can see, we have this picture where you see guided surgery. This surgery, for example, I did it with an external bezel technique. It's with a scalpel. It's not an electric or a laser technique, but you can do it with any type of procedure, any type of technique that you would like to have. The focus here today is to show you how you can create the gum contouring guide that you can do to guide you on creating better performance on the gum contouring for your procedure. So in this picture, you see on the left side, the gingivectomy is already created, and all that gum contouring that you guys see on the left side was guided by the gingivectomy 3D design that I created before. On the right side of the picture, which is on the left side of the patient, you see that there is still a bisacral placed over the patient's gum and teeth. So that's basically the guide that you guys are going to use for your gum contouring guide. In her case, since she's a very young patient, we did not want to go over any porcelain veneers. We wanted to stay in the minimally invasive or non-invasive at all. And because of the treatment plan that we created for this case, we decided to use that same mock-up model to create a palatal guide and then just finalize the incisal edge with composite restorations. So it was a non-prep composite restoration procedure using one 3D design for two different procedures, the gingivalectomy and the composite restorations on the incisal edge. So let me share my screen. And here, let me remove my picture. All right. SmileFy is available on App Store, okay? And you can download and use it on your iPhone, iPad, or MacBook. This is a new feature that, from my experience, I recommend you guys to use either your MacBook or your iPad, because it's easier to visualize and it's easier to 3D plan your gum contouring guide. On the iPhone, it's great for you to visualize it, but since the screen is very small, sometimes it gets a little bit harder for you to calibrate the files and place them all together. Okay, so having an iPad or a MacBook will be a great tool in your practice for you to start doing your own designs and your own 3D plannings. So here, I'm going to open these patients' files. As you can see here, I have several patients for different treatment plans. Let me find here. So everything is very intuitive. And then, of course, in this webinar, we only have about an hour where I will show you the capabilities of 3D planning on SmileFy, but we have already a full tutorial on our YouTube where you can go step by step and also perform your own guides. Then, of course, we also have our in-person courses in the United States and in London, in England. And we also have our online courses if you guys want to take full control over your treatments and get all the insights on how to become a Smile designer. So I'm just like downloading the files right now. The files, they do not stay in your iPad or in your MacBook, so it does not take any space from it. Everything is stored in SmileFy cloud software, okay? So let's say you forgot your iPad and you're using somebody else's iPad. All you have to do is download the application and then log in, and all files will be uploaded into your SmileFy. So look at this patient. Look how cool it is to 3D plan your patient digitally. Here, as I was showing you guys before, we have, let me reduce the opacity here of everything. Okay, so here we have Maria. Again, for those who already have tried the Smile simulation, she is patient number 3. That picture was taken in 2020. Now she already finished her case. She's happy. She's living in Portugal. And this is right after she finished her orthodontic treatment. So our next step was to increase the length, the aesthetic aesthetics of that design, of that final outcome, by creating a gingivectomy case for her. By having an intraoral scan, look how amazing it is. I am able to visualize the patient's soft tissues, even if the patient does not show all cervical margins in that picture. The reason why, it's because you superimpose all those files together to design a facially driven treatment plan, and also to have more accuracy on the final outcome. By having the CBCT file, I am able to visualize the teeth that is beneath that gum, beneath the soft tissue showing on that intraoral scan. So in yellow, we have the CBCT bone file, and notice the size of her existing teeth. She had a passive eruption. Look, in gray, you can see the patient's gum tissue, soft tissue, and then in yellow, you can see the patient bone crest margins and the patient's existing teeth structure. So when we were doing these, when we were doing these type of analysis, we noticed that we were able to perform a flapless technique because the patient already had enough teeth structure and enough space for that biological width for that gingivectomy. I will show you guys right after. So now let me go back and I will show you step by step how the 3D design here can be created. So as I showed you guys before, just going back here on the stages, as I showed you guys before, what you need is the patient's files, frontal smiling picture, an intraoral scan, and also a CBCT bone file. Just so you know, I'm doing this live, okay, straight from my iPad. So if you have any questions, just have your question here in the chat. So you calibrate these 3 files just by setting 3 points into your photo, into your STL, and into your bone file. Then they will merge together. The next step is to set what we call a smile frame. This smile frame will pre-position the 3D teeth already over your patient's files. Just like here. In your treatment plan, it's important for you to also understand how many teeth you want to perform on the gingivectomy. A tip that I can give you guys is to ask your patient to give a big, wide smile. And then notice how many teeth the patient shows when she is smiling. It doesn't necessarily need to go from first molar to first molar. If the patient doesn't show that the surface of that molar, you don't have to perform a gingivectomy from there. But also, if your patient shows, let's say, up to the second premolar, don't perform a gingivectomy that goes only from canine to canine, or just from lateral to lateral, because it wouldn't look aesthetically pleasing for that case. In this case, when the patient was smiling, we noticed that we had to create a gingivectomy that would go from second premolar to second premolar. So here in this dental chart, I can select how many teeth I want for my gingivectomy case. So once I tap set, notice that the 3D teeth will automatically appear over the patient's files. My next step is to then initiate my 3D design over my patient's files. Before you go into your gum contouring analysis, you need to first check on the aesthetics of your 3D mockup. So here, if you go to mix templates, you will find several natural looking 3D teeth templates that you can use to test on your patient's teeth. Let me bring all these teeth slightly buckled so that way you guys can see them. There we go. And as you tap on these teeth templates, notice that automatically the teeth shape will also change. I can always hide some of the files to simulate the smile design. So here, for example, let me reduce the lower intraoral scan, the CBCT bone file. Let me also remove this smile frame. And let me simulate that 3D design in that patient's mouth. The reason why I'm doing this, it's because I'm using the same 3D design for two procedures. One, it's for my gum contouring guide, and then the other one, it's for the reshape of those incisal edge with composite restorations. Here, for example, I noticed that these laterals is slightly short, so I can adjust the size of that lateral a bit. And then reflect onto the other lateral. There we go. Now they look the same. These premolar, for example, is slightly too buckled, so I'm going to bring that slightly in. Same thing for the second premolar. So notice that at the moment, I'm not focusing too much on the barrier analysis. My first step is to check on the aesthetics of my dental mockup. Then I will go over the barrier analysis. Let me simulate this once again. Another great thing that you can do here is to visualize your design from a different view. Right here at the bottom, for example, I have 12 o'clock view. That way you can check if your design is too buccal, too lingual, is too angulated, if the axial angulation is in the correct position. Let me give you here an example. I'm going to tap on this tooth and let me lock it. Let's say that I was designing from a frontal view, which I'm going to bring it back to frontal. See here, it looks great, but from a 12 o'clock view, you see that the tooth is way too buccal. It's out of position. You can simply change the view and visualize it to correct the position of that tooth itself. Although this seems to be pretty straightforward, I will just go back here for a second. Let me show my camera. And I want to show you guys, just to give you here a better example, all right, of what it is to understand these different views from your 3D design. You have your iPad, right? Let me bring my iPad here. So you have your iPad right over here. And first, you're checking on the aesthetics of it, having the patient's picture. And it's like if you were going to hold your own mockup, it's like you're having this view, viewing your mockup from a frontal view. Then, when you change it to a 12 o'clock view like this, it's like you're shifting the model towards a 45 angle. It's kind of like you're bringing it like this, So that way you can visualize the position of the design itself. I'm going to also show you how you can visualize the position of the design from an occlusal view and from also a profile view. Okay, this is a great way for you to digitally plan and digitally position your 3D design. I see, because since we have a lot of members here as well, I see a lot of doctors focusing only on the frontal view, but just like as if you were going to do an analog wax up, usually you get the model and you visualize it from a different view, right? To see if everything is in the right position. Same thing in the digital workflow. You can digitally move your wax up for you to make your corrections. Let me go back here to another new feature that we have here is this outline feature. The outline feature makes your teeth position much easier because you can see the outline and the original STL all together. And reposition the 3D design without overlapping the design on each other. Notice that now I'm adjusting the contact points of my lateral. Adjusting the width of my canine because the patient, even though we did ortho on her, there are still some space. And great. So now I have my wax up ready, right? I selected the teeth that best matched my patient's face. I select the best position of my 3D wax up with my patient smiling. And I also adjusted the contact points and the proper position for my upper mockup. Now, let's focus on the perio analysis so you can create your own gum contouring guide. What you need to pay attention to create a gum contouring guide, the 3D design needs to be over the patient's gum tissue. So that way you can perform your gum contouring guide. By tapping on the central, for example, I can adjust its position so that way I can have the entire contouring of that tooth that I selected. Same thing for this canine over here. My goal is to position my cervical margin in a level that it matches with the patient's smile line, smile curvature. So these lateral, right, for example, the one that you're seeing in gray, I will have to reduce the size just a little bit so that way I have proper cervical contouring as well for my future gum procedure. Now that I have it all in place, let's move on to our to our peri-analysis. Here, right next to options, we have a button called analysis. And in this analysis section, you can find the cross section. You will turn the cross section on, and then what happens is that the application will show you a different image. This different image will have on the left side the patient's files, and on the right side the cross section. So here you're just going to wait until it loads for just a couple of seconds. And then as I'm waiting here, I'm just going to read the comments. So I have Dr. Agnieszka. I made several 3D designs and I have the same problem with all of them. To all my cases, I put that files, fully smile, profile, my photo, 12 o'clock, view interview, maxilla scan. When I start making this my 3D design, I can find and see the case profiles, my 12 o'clock view, how to make 3D my design using also that file to control the project. Dr. Agnieszka, sorry. This is a very important question that you are asking, and this is coming up in our upcoming update. Okay, right now, at the moment, you can have all these files and then let's say go in your photo gallery or go into your Dropbox, your visual, if you want to go back and visualize those photos as you are designing. But this new feature is coming up in the next update. Okay, we will have a button right here at the bottom where you'll be able to click and visualize video interview, profile picture, 12 o'clock, and so forth. All right, so here on the left side of your screen, you can see the 3D design. And on the right side, you see the cross section. I'm going to move the cross section towards the middle of the central, for example. And what you will be able to see is okay. What you'll be able to see is a sagittal view of your patient's design and intraoral files. No problem, Dr. Anietska. All right, guys, so as it's loading here, I just want to know from you, like, where are you? What country are you? I'm in Brazil, in the south of Brazil. Dr. Sammy and George are in Miami. Where are you located? Let me zoom out here. Poland, wonderful. Okay, all right, so what you guys see here on the right side is the cross section. In pink, you have the design. In orange, you have the soft tissues or the intraoral scan. And in yellow, you have the CBCT bone. So look how amazing it is for you to do your 3D planning and 3D design all together. Since I have this view here, I can tap on measurement and I can check on the bone crest, the position of the bone crest and the cervical margin of my new gum contouring guide. And I can also measure the cervical margin of my gum contouring guide up until the edge of the patient's existing free gingival margin. This case here, from what we were saying before, the biological width, you needed about 2 to 3 millimeters. In her case, after we designed, notice that my measurement here, it's at 2.6 millimeters. So we are in a safe spot. And then it shows here that I will be removing an average of 1.3 millimeters of her gum. So it's basically a gingivoplasty in her case. And it's done. Just by tapping cross-section and add measurement, you will be able to do your peri-analysis as well. But now let's say that your 3D design needed a longer teeth restoration or longer teeth exposure. In this case, let me hear, as you guys can see here, I'm making the teeth much longer right now. Just to give you an example. If I go back to analysis, correct, Dr. Andres. So as I'm showing here right now, right? The way you do, you will turn cross-section off once again, so that way you can go back to the design, then change the height of that tooth that you want, just like I did here. To then find the new position of and the new measurements of your gum contouring guide. Now it's giving me the calculations. There you go. So now I changed. Notice that the surface, this pink surface is now much longer, right? That's the cross section of the design that I created. Now let me check on the measurements once again. Bone crest up until the design that I created. Okay. So I just apologize. I think my iPad itself, the memory of my iPad is full because of the courses that I've been recording. So this is the reason why it's basically crashing here on you guys, which is also a tip, right? If you want to do this type of analysis, as you guys can see, those are very heavy files. Make sure that you have an iPad exclusive for your dental office. That way it doesn't have a lot of stuff in there. In my case, I have tons of videos in here, I have tons of photos in here. So it kind of like crashes sometimes. But in your office, make sure you have one iPad exclusive for your dental practice, or use your MacBook to do this analysis. But then going back here, there we go. You can change the 3D design and you can adjust the measurement prior to sending it to print. Once you do your barrier analysis, you then can decide on what type of procedure you want to go with your gingivectomy. Do you want to perform a flapless technique? Do you want to perform a technique that needs to have bone reduction, an osteotomy or osteotectomy? Then you can also check on the measurements over here and then send this information to your dental technician, for example, and ask a dental technician to create a surgical guide for you to do the procedure based on the design that you created on SmileFy. But now, if you're planning on creating a treatment plan like the one that I showed you, a treatment plan that you know that it's going to be a flapless technique, and you will be able to use the bisacryl as a guide for your gum contouring guide, then you can export this file and send it straight into your 3D printer to do your model and guide for your gingivectomy case. Now that you have your 3D gum contouring guide and composite restoration guide ready, your final step is to export this file. So I'm going to show you how to export this file. Right here, once you tap on next, right here at the bottom of your screen, you will find the button called Export Model. So here, as you guys can see, my gum contouring guide is ready. If I tap on the tooth, notice that my design is over here. And then this line, this transversal line that you see here, it's my patient's existing gingival margin. And my design is over my patient's existing gum to guide me on my gingivectomy case. You will tap on Export Model, which is at the bottom of the screen, and export this 3D file. The 3D file that you export is an STL file. So it can literally be 3D printed in any type of 3D printer. We have nowadays this FDA approved 3D printer. You also have cheaper printers if you want to just do your model to be 3D printed. And once you 3D print them, you can then initiate your surgical procedure. This is a model where you guys can, it's an example of a model. Notice that The design itself is going over my patient's gum here in the model. And the purpose of it, it's because I want to use it as a guide for my gingivalectomy guide. And it's also facially guided, and it can also help me designing the shape of those incisal edges with composite restorations. One thing that is also available on SmileFy, and this is a partnership that we have with this company called Diagnostic, is an AI radiological report. This AI radiological report takes a PDF out of your DICOM file and gives you a detailed case radiological report on every single tooth that is placed into this DICOM file. That way, as you design, you can also perform your treatment plans better. This AI radiological report is available for all of our SmileFy members for only $50. And as soon as you request a radiological report, you get this file in just 5 to 10 minutes. So compared to sending your radiological report to a lab, which sometimes takes about like 10 days, 12 days, you can do it all within SmileFy and receive it. So you can do your 3D design and perform your treatment plan with more accuracy. So this is basically what I want to show you guys how to, how to have this mindset of creating your own gum contouring guides in your own practice to save time, to create more reliable final procedures, to have a more precise final treatment to your patient. And since we have here a lot of non-SmileFy members, I just want to ask you guys a question, and it's a final question. In your opinion, do you see the benefits of creating your own 3D plans using SmileFy? Wonderful. Okay, so here I'm getting the answers. Wonderful. So here I'm getting 70% of you guys are like absolute, 75% of you guys are like absolutely. Then we have 25% of you guys saying yes, where do I begin? And then now it changed a little bit, 10% of you guys are saying I need more information. So